Hey guys, this is gonna be a bit of a different type of recap than normal. And the reason why is because the thing that we're dealing with is possibly the worst situation that could have come out of the news yesterday. The developer of Night in the Woods committed suicide. He committed suicide because he was Me Too'd by a person who has been grifting the entire industry since 2014. A person who declared themselves a victim. The kind of person I was telling you about when I told you what kind of person would use cancel culture and victimhood to give themselves power. To really explain it to you, to really give you the background you need to understand, we gotta go all the way back. We need to reintroduce this person to you so that you can understand who they are and why this came to be. Let's go all the way back to the Something Awful days. Hell Dump. Hell Dump is exactly what it sounds like. It was a Something Awful form that existed as a scorched earth remains of every industry and every business attached to Something Awful as a website. $10 plus archives for $20 got you the archives of cheaters, pedophiles, furries, grifters, scammers, and all kinds of seedy people living in the underbelly of a life. These forums existed as the literal interpretation of what you think people think Kiwi Farms is. And even what people think Pull is. And even what people think Reset Era and NeoGAF Forums was. That was the actual hellhole. That place was the kind of place that if you went there and you saw things about you, you didn't talk about them. Because if you did, it was your head on the chopping block. There was no speaking out in defense of yourself. The cancel culture, as it existed then, hadn't gotten to the place where it is now, where a person with a giant enough platform could be able to get in front of the lies about them. You got outed, your life was over. If you tried to defend yourself, well, you didn't really have a life anymore. Zoe Quinn, or as we should probably call this devil by its proper name, Chelsea Van Valkenburg. She has been a part of this ever since then. And all the way back then, with one existent creature since the gap of 2005 and 2009. By her own admittance, she had been a part of Hell Dump since then. Back in 2012 when she admitted it on the 6th of February at 3:09 p.m. Back when her account was under the @Quinspiracy. She was one of the goons. So believe you me, yesterday when I saw her from archive tweets linked to us from Rainbow Squid Inc., imagine how loud I fucking was cackling. She's been doing this for the longest time. She never stopped. It's a little bit disillusioning. Because when I make my predictions, I don't want to be right. I never want to be right. Because when I'm right, things don't go better. Things don't get better. Right? Being right about Zoe Quinn doesn't bring me any hope and peace and solace in my life. It makes me feel horrible. Because that means that not only was I right, not only did I call it, but that this has been going on for longer. We never wanted this to happen. We all knew this. The people who saw this coming from a mile away. all the way back then. When we first heard that somebody had been bullied into suicide because of Hell Dump, we knew that this was going to come back and come back in a big way. We knew when they came for the words, they'd do it. We knew when they came for people, they'd do it. We knew when they presented themselves as victims, they would do it. And Hawalka is not the end, and he certainly wasn't the beginning. What she's done, what Anita's done, what Chelsea's done, what Ramia's Molly's done, what Error Justin's done, what the entire industry of people have done, is they have made it clear they never cared about the industry. We knew they never cared. But at least they paid lip service. At least a couple of them are journalists. At least a couple of them make video games. But much like when I called it with Zoe Quinn and Jonathan McIntosh, when I told you that they are not interested in making video games, they're not interested in telling you the truth, because if they knew everything they needed to know about how to make the industry work, if they actually gave a shit about things, they would be able to make a video game based on the topics and based on these ideas that they're trying to claim they have the inside track for. Back when I wrote it then, in my moment, they would have been able to prove that this was not a game of an eternal grievance culture. No. See, this is worse. This is much worse. It's not just an eternal grievance culture. It's... what this is, what Zoe Quinn has done, is she has done everything we told you was gonna happen. Cancel culture is not a culture, it's a weapon that is weaponized by anyone who's sick enough to do it. She pointed a gun at his head and pulled the trigger, and he was not allowed to defend himself first, so he pulled the real trigger himself. And terrified that she killed someone, she ran from the internet, crying tears, saying, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me that pulled the trigger. No, it wasn't my fault. I never meant to do any harm. I never meant no harm." And now, Ramia's Molly, of all people, is going to stand on his grave and tell us, in his wonderful truth, on August the 31st at 4:05 p.m. from Seattle, Washington, on his Twitter for Android. Oh, and make it absolutely clear, every single one of you that decides that now is the time to weaponize this tragic news about brave people stepping forward with the trauma and hurt, you can absolutely 100% go fuck yourself. You have no fucking room to talk! You of all people, Rami! You right next to her! With Quinn, with Funimation, with the entirety of KickVic, with the entirety of your games industry, who weaponize victimhood, you with Sarkeesian and McIntosh have no room! You have no right to say anything! You did this! This is your doing! You had the chance to say no. You had the chance to look her in the eye and say, "No, Chelsea, this was too far. No, Chelsea, you shouldn't have accused him of this. No, Chelsea, you've seen what's been happening. No, Chelsea, that's not what you did, Rami. That's not what you did. You stood by the dead body and said, how can this help me and my business?" Every single one of you are guilty of this. Every single person who said, yes, this is fine when we do it. It's acceptable when we use it. Every single one of you is guilty. You glow in the fucking dark. It's because everything about the industry is radioactive. For her to go screaming to the hills saying that she's never been in the games industry is her admitting that every single time she made a Kickstarter, every time she was hired by DC Vertigo to write Goddess Mode, every single bit of it was a clout scam. She was grifting. And she admits that she's grifting. Because what other interpretation do we have? Because I'm about this close to getting her book through an archive so I can sift through Crash Override and go through every single lie she ever told in print. Because that too, that book was a grift. Because who's accountable? Who's going to be held accountable? The company or y'all? Because your company's more than willing to cut your ass if it means they can save their own skin and their own brand. Her entire brand was, I don't have enough victim points this month. I think it's time to get my buzz up. Who's gonna be the victim today? Who in my Rolodex of people who I haven't outed yet? Who's gonna be the next aggressor and the next abuser? People like you, Rami, are the reason that we say that male feminists are always pests and scum, masquerading themselves as a sex police while being sex pests. You, Peter Bright, the rest of them. And we don't even know if you've done anything, Rami. That's the fucked up part. We just have to expect it, because what can we expect? All of you have been screaming that you're the ones being victimized, and yet here you are, the ones creating the victims and the body count. When does it happen? When do you all, as a collective front, from Felicia Day to you to Era Justin, when do y'all, with your mascot of Will Wheaton, when do y'all come to us and say, we're sorry? We're sorry that we've been using you all as a fear tactic. We're sorry that we called you things that you're not. When are you gonna do that? Because that day's never gonna fucking come. Because that's the day you actually start doing something. That's the day you start taking responsibility. The thing, anything and everything we've been asking of you. Be responsible. But nah, that's not gonna happen. I'll tell you exactly what's gonna happen, everybody. They're gonna forget. Like they always do. This is gonna become another name, along with all the other people who've been banned off of a platform. They're gonna go into the memory hole. You see, it's kind of sad. It's sad that I didn't save Mombot's list in her archive of every single name that's been outed, so that I could put Chelsea's name at the top of the goddamn list. I hope and I pray that the Huolka family takes you all to court. Because you cannot keep getting away with murder. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna listen to my Vaporwave on repeat. Because I want to be able, just for a few moments, to work off this anger that I have. Because it's indignation for Huolka. No one's going to tell his part of the story, and no one's ever going to know now. We could have asked them questions. We could have been able to bring him to the police. We could have been able to do a police report. We could have investigated. We could have been able to do anything else than what you did. And that's what you all need to do. Get a goddamn life! And if you say that this is your life, get a new one. It sucks. Call your parents, everybody. Tell them you love them. Call your brother, call your sister. Call any male friend, relative, and loved one you have. And be there for them. Support those who are at risk. Because if you don't, they might not be there anymore. Because this is the world we live in. We live in a world where the kangaroo court of public opinion just gets to decide who's guilty and who's innocent. Never the women. It seems to always be the men. And even when the women speak in defense of the men, it's still not good enough. I hope it's good up there in the ivory tower, Yami. I really do. I really hope it's able to settle your heart at night. You're right, everybody. I need to think. And also say a couple prayers. I'll see you guys next time.